Over the course of this year, we have been on a series talking about aspects to do with personal branding. The reason why we're talking about these aspects to do with personal branding is because the business of today is personal branding. Yes, just confirm that you're live on YouTube. Yeah, the business of today is personal branding, meaning that the businesses that you know, the Teslas of the day, the Apples of the day, the Facebooks of the day, were built based on people's personal brands. And I have seen there is a lot of interest in that subject where people want to know, like, how do you go about building your personal brand? How do you go about becoming successful, creating your own audience, and essentially talking about the things that matter to you and succeeding based on the things that you're good at. Because I've interacted with many people who are doing certain jobs or are in careers, certain endeavors of life that they know they don't fully excel there, but would like to create a life that is more aligned with the interests that they have, the strengths and the abilities that they would like to pursue. But there is a barrier. There's normally a huge barrier there, like a mindset barrier that has occurred as a result of upbringing, exposure, education, and the environment that you live in. And because of that, we have spoken about various aspects such as catastrophizing. That's one of the things that we spoke about in the last few videos, like thinking that bad things are about to happen. So when you think that bad things are going to happen to you and you don't expect good things to happen, that means that there's no way that you can act positively every day. You'll be consistent to a level and then stop because you're expecting that maybe something bad is somewhere along the way. Yeah, so that's one of the things. And last week, okay, there are other topics as well, so we'll just look at them, such as building an authentic personal brand. And last week now is when we were talking about the aspect of people pleasing and breaking free from being a people pleaser. Okay, so in last week's topic, I spoke about my personal story of high school, my first exposure to a mountain of peer pressure and how that affected my reaction to people in social circumstances, in the sense that trying to always be cool or fitting in, and how that made me feel very, okay, that kind of took me out of my element. Of course, if you'd like to hear that story, please go to the previous video. If you're on Facebook, it's just one of my updates. If it's on YouTube, definitely it's the video just before this one. And you'll get to hear that story of how I was in high school and how I ended up becoming a people pleaser. Something else that we also spoke about last week is that the aspect of people pleasing usually starts from childhood, where you learn to do things not because they are good, but because they make your parent, your guardian, or the authorities around you happy. And ultimately, what you learn to do is to do things to make people who you perceive to be in authority happy at your own expense. So without that sense of understanding why you're doing what you're doing, ultimately, what unfortunately gets programmed unintentionally also is becoming a person who is supposed to please people. So the question now is, how do you break free from that aspect of people pleasing? But before I talk about how to break free, I'm going to mention a bit about why this is a problem. The reason why people pleasing is a problem is that the way you are created by God, it's only God who knows, and you who has an idea of maybe who you are supposed to be. But everybody else around you, does not matter if it's your parent or your guardian or the people who have been close to you, they have no idea of what you're capable of, who you can become, and what you are made of. They just know that you appeared, you're just some other kid, they gave you a name, or there's a certain nickname they ascribe to you. They've been seeing you growing up over the years, and ultimately they look at you based on where you came from, not really who you're supposed to become. And because who you're supposed to become is totally different from what they may expect, then ultimately trying to live a life that is in alignment with who you're supposed to be is going to cause a bit of a conflict on their side, maybe may make them a little bit unhappy. And if you're a people pleaser, that means that you may betray yourself for the purpose of making them happy and conforming to their limited perception of who you are and who you're supposed to become. Of course, you're told you're supposed to be in company of people who see you for the great person that you are. But considering that this is a societal problem, that probably the people who want you to please them are trying to please other people, it is a huge cycle of people who are facing the exact same problem, of course not admitting it, and therefore you cannot expect any kind of help from such kind of a situation. That is why it becomes imperative for this to be a personal initiative, for you to learn how to live life on your own terms, not to please people, but essentially to live the life that is aligned with who you're supposed to be, what you're capable of, pursuing your potential, your dreams, your ambitions, and everything that you can do over the course of a lifetime, because of course lifetimes are very short. Now, getting to how do you break free from this aspect of people pleasing to become the person that you are without apologies. Without apologizing for who you are. I know there is those guys that you have around you that they don't apologize for who they are. They can come off as a little blunt, but they seem not to change regardless of, and that's something that you admire. But anyway, how do you get to that point? So there are two thoughts that I'm going to be breaking down. And the first thought, I'm going to start it with a question. What makes you worthy of love? So the first thing that is important to explore now, reflecting internally when it comes to this aspect of people pleasing, is getting to understand, like, fundamentally, what do you believe or what do you think makes you worthy of love? Not what should make you worthy of love, but what do you believe makes you worthy of love? Like, what makes you a person who is lovable? A person who is supposed to be accepted, a person who, let me say, you can accept yourself. Like, what is your measure of what makes you a lovable person, a worthy person, or just a human being who can operate freely? Like, what makes you worthy of that love? These are not things that you tend to process. They're not things that are very conscious. You kind of need to take some time to think about it. But if you have never thought about it, you may measure your lovableness based on the approval that you have from somebody else. So that means that if somebody has never told you that they love you, then that means that you are not worthy of love. I know these are things that many of us experience in teenage, where people who seem to be loved feel as though they are worthy of love because other people have told them that they love them. So if you've never been told that you're loved, if maybe even from home you are never told that you're loved, then that becomes a pursuit of being loved by somebody else to prove to yourself that you're somebody who is lovable. Actually, this question leads people to becoming drug addicts because they tend to gravitate to areas where they tend to be accepted, where they're accepted. So if they're accepted by the wrong crowd, and that confirms to them that and those are the only guys that show them that they are worthy of love, then they tend to gravitate to that area. It is said, and of course parents have been sensitized to tell their children often that they love them, but there is a different way. There is a different way of approaching this, because human love is broken and it is based on meeting certain expectations. Of course, if we look at, let me talk about home, sometimes it seems as though you are loved based on your performance, or you are loved based on how much you conform to how the family operates. And once you move away from that, then you seem to be rejected, and ultimately that can make you feel as though you yourself are not worthy of love. But one of the ways of breaking free from people pleasing, and this is something I've been talking about, is understanding that the world is fundamentally broken and people are constantly dealing with their brokenness. So the people that you want to please other people, want to please other people. So it's a huge cycle of people who are trying to please each other and not really operating in their full element. So how they treat you is based on their own brokenness, not based on who you are fundamentally as a person. So understanding, I know I've said so many souls, but understanding that what makes you worthy of love is not another broken person's opinion or validation of your worthiness of love is something that is going to set you free first. It is understanding that what makes you worthy of love is that you're a child of God. Is that regardless of whatever has happened in your life, the things that you have done, I know this is part of what made me a believer. Actually, this is the main thing that made me a believer, is knowing that God loves you. God saw it fit to send his son to come and die for you on the cross. And because of that, because of God actually demonstrating his love to you first, that is what makes you worthy of love. So there is nothing that you did or you did not do for the attention and the love that you receive from God. Even if you're not a believer, it does rain where you are able to get food. So it's not a matter of how worthy you are to get those things. You receive those things in spite of the fact that you cannot measure up. And what that does is that it gives you a freedom to accept yourself as a human being, to accept that you are a human being who is both complete and broken at the same time. There are things about you that are amazing and outstanding, but then there are things about you that are annoying and frustrating. And those are things that people will experience when they are interacting with you. So they cannot only interact with the part of you that is awesome. They'll interact with the part of you that is not awesome. And once you accept that you are both awesome and not awesome, and that does not change the fact that you're supposed to be loved, then that helps you a lot, because you first accept yourself as you are as a human being. And then you accept that other people are human beings and they're also flawed and they are broken. It is possible that the people who have treated you badly or the people who try to make you fit in are operating out of their own brokenness, and it is wrong for them to do that. So in as much as they may be in a position of authority, they are broken people in positions of authority, and what they did was wrong, and therefore that was not supposed to affect the fact that you yourself fundamentally are lovable. If you do not necessarily perform according to the standards of the world, education and all those things, that does not mean that you're not useful in the world. Actually, this morning I had a cup of tea. And the milk was awesome. But I think Kenyan tea is just the best. But many of the people who farm this tea, the people who prepared this milk, and they sold it, the person I bought it from, I have no idea whether they did well in school or not. But the tea that I had was nourishing to my body, and right now I'm able to share my thoughts freely with a very healthy body and very nourished. Just enjoyed a very good breakfast. So whether they passed school or they did not pass school, that is immaterial to me. But I know that what they have done is something that has affected my life positively. So if they judge themselves based on their academic performance, whereas they're making a positive contribution in my life, then it may not be the right way to look at themselves. That's a first powerful thought, and we can go deeper into that, but it is important to know that what makes you worthy of love is not the good things about you. It is everything about you, even the broken part, and you're just a human being just like everybody else. The second thing that is really going to liberate you is understanding something that is called positive ruthlessness. Okay, now the reason why I have to add the word positive is the word ruthless has a lot of negative connotations. Like people assume that people who are ruthless are people who don't care about others. But in real sense, people who are ruthless, there are those people who don't care about others, but you can be positively ruthless. That means that you are focused on your mission, your goal, your objective, and you do not allow things that are not aligned to that to affect your life. For example, say you are an athletic person and you want to grow in your sports talent, That means you need to dedicate a lot of time, focus, and attention to building yourself tactically, athletically, maybe even creating networks and doing everything that you need for the purpose of creating an athletics career if the environment that's around you does not allow. So what that means, okay, that is going to lead you to saying no to people who are inviting you to things that are aside from what you are pursuing. That is going to lead to a lot of no's, to a lot of social events, or maybe taking unhealthy food. You're going to say, no, thank you, I'm not going to take this unhealthy food. I want to achieve a certain athletic fitness level for the purpose of playing sport or athletics. That's what I mean by positive ruthlessness. If, say, you are in an environment that doesn't really value business, they are more, let me say, employment, career focused. I know this is a sensitive thing, but you're in such kind of an environment and you want to pursue an entrepreneurship kind of a career. That means that you are going to focus a lot on getting to understand, to learn about business, to meet business people, to be in places where business is being discussed, and essentially to immerse yourself into the idea of business, commerce, trade, and all those things. So invitations to things that don't align to that are things that you're going to say no to because you have something that you want to accept. So just learning to be positively ruthless like that is something that is going to help you deal with this aspect of people pleasing, because they're going to be upset the first time. Then eventually you're going to create a reputation that you are focused on certain things, and people will let you go for you to do whatever you want to do over a certain period of time. And ultimately that is going to make you realize that at the end of the day, once you achieve whatever you wanted to achieve, then all of a sudden you become applauded by the same people who did not want you to pursue what you wanted to pursue. But anyway, that's another thing about that aspect of positive ruthlessness. It's something that I came across recently, but I've noticed is quite powerful, because in as much as you think that when you say something that is aligned to whatever you want to pursue and somebody else does not agree with it, they're going to be mad at you for a very long period of time, you quickly notice that they overcome that very quickly and they move on to other things. And eventually you create relationships with people who are aligned to whatever you want to pursue. And these other people are still going to be there, but you're not going to be talking about different things. You're going to be operating more in your element, and you're going to be known as somebody who operates in your element, so to speak. So those are two powerful thoughts that you can consider for the purpose of overcoming this issue of people pleasing. The first one I talked about was unconditional love, knowing that you are worthy of love, even with your imperfections and with your perfections. Everything that makes you you makes you worthy of love. And people who treat you like you're not worthy of love, it's because they don't think they're worthy of love, so they treat you the way they otherwise treat themselves. And understanding that there's a whole system of brokenness makes you not look at somebody in authority as though they are better or supposed to create an affirmation in you. But when you understand who yourself, who you fundamentally are, especially if you're a believer, that makes it easier for you to know that you don't necessarily have to please people. Actually, the apostles say that they would rather please God than please people. So yeah, you get to know that you don't necessarily need to please people for you to feel like you are supposed to be loved by other people. Then the other thing that you're talking about is positive ruthlessness. Pursuing whatever you are meant to pursue, being very focused on it, making decisions in that favor at the expense of other decisions. Then eventually you're just allowed to be who you're supposed to be. And that makes things easier for you, other than staying in this cycle of knowing you're supposed to make a certain decision, but feeling trapped by people who are going to move on even if you make another decision. Yeah, so that's essentially it. And that's what I would love to leave this Monday morning live with. So if this information has been powerful and has been instrumental to you, I would request you to share this with somebody who is looking for this kind of information. Yeah, share this in your networks to guys who want to overcome this issue of people pleasing. This is actually what I did for myself, and it is helping me because it's a journey. And definitely, yeah, follow us, or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel if you'd like to hear more of this content that is going to liberate you to pursue whatever you'd like to pursue. And yeah, I love doing this Monday morning live. So please just leave a like. Just something to say that, hey, we are moving in the right direction. And if you'd like to hear about a specific topic, do mention it in the comments or on the YouTube comments as well, based on where you're watching this from. This has been Monday Morning Live with Dennis Mboro. Until next time.